Hi. Well, welcome to Inside the Realtor Studio, interviews with industry leaders and professionals in real estate. The Tucson Association of Realtors turned 100 this year, 1921 to 2021, and we're honoring our history by conducting interviews of the past presidents of the Tucson Association of Realtors. We'll learn a bit of history by talking to the experts themselves. Today's past president is Greg Hollman. Greg served as our multiple listing service president in 2011. Greg served as chair of the candidate and ballot task force and served on the following committees: government affairs, business planning, budget and finance, and of course, the executive committee. Greg also served AAR as a director. Meanwhile, in Greg's career, he was on the move. In 1999, he became manager of the Coldwell Banker Northeast office in Tucson. In 2001, he became the manager of the Coldwell Banker Foothills office. And in 2009, became regional vice president of Coldwell Banker Southern Arizona. Then, just for a bit of variety, Greg moved and became the 2012 branch manager of Coldwell Banker Sunset Strip office in Hollywood Hills and Beverly Hills. In 2015, Greg returned to Arizona as president of the Arizona Coldwell Banker. In addition to his other community involvement, Greg co-founded the Community Business Association, now the LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and was president for the first 4 years. It was the largest per capita association at the time in the United States. Let's give a big Inside the Realtor Studio welcome to Greg Hollman. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks, Steve.
Did we get all of that right?
I'm tired just listening to that.
Oh, I'm sure we could have stretched that out with a lot more in there than we did. So let's begin our voyage with a bit about you before real estate. Where were you born?
I was born in Pasadena, California. Grew up in the greater Los Angeles area in a little city called San Marino, which is right below Pasadena.
Okay. And what was your career path prior to real estate?
I did a few things. I was a medical malpractice underwriter, working with physicians and very technical things, telling them what they could and couldn't do as far as procedures. And I also worked in the entertainment industry for a while in a few different positions and really enjoying that.
Well, in particular, weren't you working at a radio station? And
yeah, I worked at a radio station, Coast 103, KOST. At the time, it was the #1 radio station in Los Angeles. And I worked in the programming department. And then I also worked in, I worked for a songwriter named Diane Warren, who's written
not
numerous
just some
hits.
songwriter, like the songwriter.
The songwriter, one of the most important songwriters of all time. I was behind a wall and I used to hear her literally tap out a song on her piano right on the other side of the wall. And sometimes she would write a song in a half hour. It's amazing.
Wow. Wow. Well, how then did you get from all of that into real estate?
Well, my good friend Brad Sinsenbach out in Southern California was a agent out there and had more business at the time than he knew what to do with, and we were very good friends. And he asked me to come on board with him to help him with the number of transactions that he had. So I joined him. He convinced me to get into real estate, and I'm very thankful to him for that.
Yeah.
Which, of course, now he's down there in Tucson, still working away as an agent and a manager in Southern Arizona.
Yeah. Well, so when you first got into it, where did you first hang your license?
Coldwell Banker.
Okay.
So I in Southern California, we were with a small independent, but in Tucson, started out with Coldwell Banker. Yeah.
And you've stayed true to the brand always.
I had a little deviation for a short period of time and came back pretty quickly.
Okay. So in your real estate career, did you work by yourself or did you have a partner or build a team? What did you do?
Yeah, so I worked with Brad as a team.
Okay.
And in Southern California, where we were working right after the first Gulf War, you couldn't really give a house away. So we looked for what we thought would be a good temporary market to move to continue doing real estate. And of course, no looking back, we're both still in Arizona.
Well, then what drew you at that point from sales into management?
That just kind of evolved. So I was very, very happy with Coldwell Banker and the office in which I worked. And I just started asking agents from other companies to come and join Coldwell Banker. And in the first year, I think 12 people came over. So at the time, it was owned by Paul Lindsay, and Paul Lindsay asked if we would be interested in management and opening up a new office on the northeast side of town. And we said, why not? So we did that and sold for a while. And it just kind of evolved and eventually ended up doing the Foothills office for Coldwell Banker. And after that became the regional vice president. And then, as you said, the company asked me to go out and take over the Sunset Strip office in Southern California, which I have many tales, which I'm going to put in a book one of these days about the interesting real estate market out there. But I've been a long time, very happy advocate for Coldwell Banker, and it's worked out well. And then they eventually asked me to come back to Arizona to be the president of Arizona. So we returned to Scottsdale, which is where I live now.
Yeah, you were there for what, 3 years or so over
Yes.
in Beverly Hills? Yeah, so that's quite a long tenure there. So let's shift over now to your presidency, because you were in office in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were coming up through the chairs, what was going on in the market?
Well, of course, we had a crazy market around 2005, 2006. Just, we were breaking records similar to what we are now. And then, of course, not long after that, the recession hit, the long time recession. I remember talking to people within the industry, we're going to have a good year or two of this, and we need to look down the road 12, 18, 24 months. Who knew it was going to be many, many years before things would recover?
Yeah. And what effect was that having on the multiple listing service?
Well, the year that I was president, actually, there was a movement to raise the dues because there was a situation where you had a lot of people getting out of the business, right? Mm. So, of course, now when you're in a very good time, the ranks swell with the number of agents that are getting into the business. When you have the harder times, you have a reduction in the number of active agents. So, you got to kind of temper that and realize that when you're in a downtime, it's probably not the best moment to raise rates. And we did tap that down, more than balanced the budget and had a surplus and continued on with no rate increase that year.
And conversely, when I came along, which was a few years later, we were then doing this. And the whole idea was, don't start spending too much.
It's always a balance.
Put the brakes on. Yeah. So who was your CEO when you were president?
Phil Tedesco.
It was Phil. Okay.
Yeah, it was Phil. And I think Phil is actually back in Rhode Island now. I think he has the whole state.
Yep. Since 2017, or let's see, 2017? No, 2015. He's been the state AE there. So, yeah. So what was the staff like for you? Was there any particular favorites or whatever that were to assist you on the MLS side of things, or with the overall with the association?
Yeah, so that was when Sean first started working and being the staff liaison to the multiple listing service.
Okay.
Prior to him, I'm trying to remember the gentleman that ended up moving to Florida.
Wes Wiggins.
Wes Wiggins.
Yeah.
Great, helpful people. And we had a wonderful staff there at the association, always willing to help pitch in any way they could. And, there's multiple people, probably many of them are still there. But I think Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, I had heard that he had moved on recently. I think he's now in another association. But we had Phil, and Phil and I stayed in contact for a few years after he left, and he went back to Rhode Island, but we've kind of lost touch a little bit now.
Yeah, good time to stir it back up again.
Absolutely.
So how did you get involved then, from being manager and everything with your company and that getting into association leadership?
That was something personally that I always just had an interest in. I really feel that you have to give back to any profession that you're working in. And I feel very strongly, just as when I founded the Community Business Association, trying to do things to give back, make it a better community. I've had a great, deep love for Tucson and Southern Arizona, and I still do. And I just wanted to help out. So you know how that goes. You're on one committee and then you kind of get asked to be on another committee. And then before you know it, you're president of the multiple listing service.
Hey,
It's kind of evolved.
Yeah. So what would you say was your biggest accomplishment or your biggest challenge during your presidency?
I would say that the dues was one. The other one was there was talk at the time of splitting up the two boards, having only one board over both the association and the multiple listing service. And, that was talked through and something that we discussed many times. And I personally felt it was good to have a separate board. I think it's good to have a board that concentrates on just those issues for the membership, and the association side serves another purpose to concentrate on those purposes. And I think it works out very efficiently. So it didn't ultimately end up changing, but that was something that I was passionate about at the time. And it was good to see it stay status quo.
Having had done interviews with those presidents who had boards where they were combined like that, you saved yourself from 5-hour-long board meetings.
Yes, I've heard about those. I think there were marathons. So
yeah. So did you have a mentor in leadership that you looked up to or followed?
Yes. There was a few people, Laura Mance and Paul Lindsay were instrumental in getting my career off the ground. And then there's others that aren't as known in Southern Arizona. Malcolm McEwen, who was the president of the Coldwell Banker at the time. Certainly, Vicki Cox Golder is somebody who I've had a lot of affection and respect for a long time. And I served on various committees with her, just vast knowledge.
Yeah. And did you serve on any Arizona or association or national association committees or anything along the way?
I was somewhat involved in the AAR, but that started to evolve as I was about to move back to Southern California for a few years. So I kind of at that time had to stop, obviously not doing real estate in Arizona. Something that I definitely would have continued on with had I been located still here in Arizona.
Yeah. Well, looking at everything, Greg, at this point, because now you've had a few years out to look back at it, any other thoughts you have about being in leadership here at the association?
I just think it's so important for people to get involved. And, that's at any level. And there are so many people at the association that I look at as kind of unsung heroes, right? You may not know their name, but they're working just as hard as perhaps a president of the association or the multiple listing service does. Dedicate a lot of hours and are very involved and dedicated to promoting the profession, making it more professional. And I feel strongly about that and always try to promote that from within my realm. Being Coldwell Banker, we encourage our agents to get involved. I think it's just important.
Well, they're in these interviews as well as some other work that's being done right now by people who are involved with the thing. We're trying to get the history of the association up online. And so Bill Arnold's been very busy working on and getting a list out of people that go along. You and I both have a trait that we share in common. You were the first openly gay multiple listing service president. I was the first openly gay TAR president.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. See, we tend not to even think about that stuff as much anymore.
I think we should both tip our hats to our better halves who are not on the call at this point, but would surely expect to take all the credit. So
they should they, Steve? They both lived through a lot. So
that's right.
Yes, that's very true.
Well, believe it or not, we're about at the end of the interview. And what I like to do at the end is do 7 quick questions. And I'm just looking for 7 quick answers.
Okay.
So, what's your favorite word?
Kindness.
And what's your least favorite word?
I would say at the moment, and it will probably really date this interview as people look back at it in the future, COVID.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a lot of great people in my life, and something that has just been horrible.
Yeah. So, what turns you on?
My family.
Okay.
I really enjoy spending time with my family, and I have great nieces and nephews, and I'm blessed with a wonderful, very diverse family.
Nice. And what turns you off?
I would have to say disrespect. And to explain that one a little, I know you're looking for a one-word answer, but it seems like respect has kind of gone out the window in many ways. And I think whether or not we agree with people, we need to respect their opinion. And I don't like disrespect. So we all need to get along.
Goes right up with kindness.
Yeah, actually, yes, it does. It all comes back to it.
So now, what profession other than real estate would you have liked to have attempted?
Oh, Steve, that's a good one. I wanted to be a weatherman, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes. When I was growing up, I've always been fascinated by weather systems and tornadoes and rain and snow. And, I wanted to be the one on television saying, that this front was going through and it was going to do that and predict it. It wasn't meant to be. Of course, there was a lot of very wonderful weathermen in Southern Arizona's history, Michael Goodrich being one, and others that were just great personalities. But that was my dream when I was much younger. It didn't evolve into that. I probably wouldn't have been good standing in front of a green screen and pointing anyway. So it's no loss.
But you probably would have been good for the meteorological studies.
I would have hoped so. We'll never know.
So is there a profession you're really glad you didn't attempt?
There is.
Okay.
My friend, Congressman Colby, and I talked many times through the years about the possibility of me doing politics. And it might be kind of a sad statement in that I'm not sorry that I didn't do it, because of course there's so much contentious things that happen in politics now. That goes back to that long time feeling of mine to give back to the community.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll still continue to get some really good politicians in there. But that was something I considered, and I still have an interest in politics, but running for office is not in my future. I can tell you that 100% assurity.
So in closing, if you could do a shout out to anyone living or not in the real estate community, who would it be and why?
That's a hard one. So,
and you can have more than one.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So I would have to say that Martha Apple, who is the broker for Coldwell Banker, is somebody that I have admired for years, from being an agent all the way through president of Coldwell Banker. I've just always been so impressed by her dedication to the industry, her very, very vast knowledge. She chaired the forms committee for redoing the purchase contract, I believe 3 times now. Helps out anybody within the industry from other companies that she can to try to help us all be better professionals. So I'd say Martha. A few people in Southern Arizona that I've always admired: Lisa Suarez, Bill Arnold, Jim Bowman for sure, who I know right now is on the MLS board. It's just wonderful, wonderful people that have a lot to give to our industry and make it a better place to be.
Yeah. Well, Greg, we're at the end of the interview. I hope that was pretty painless. Anything else you'd like to add?
I would, Steve. Who gets to interview you? I'm wondering. I want to interview you.
Well, actually, JT has already asked for that position. Yeah,
I was too late.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's been wonderful that you've done this, and I'm glad to hear that you are going to be put on tape as well, because you have given a lot to the Southern Arizona real estate community, and you should be recorded as well. So good to hear.
Great, good deal. Well, thanks again.
Okay.